Hi, my name is Nora Sanders. I'm a target teacher in Cobb County, Georgia. For my professional learning this year, I decided to read some professional books and then give some book reviews and talk about some of the resources and tips that are available in those books so that hopefully some other teachers can get some great ideas too. So the first book that I read is called Sparking Creativity, and it's by Patti Drapeau. I loved this book. It has just some really great practical ideas in it, mostly for how to teach creativity in the regular classroom. So I am lucky enough to be able to teach creativity and creative problem solving just about all day long with my gifted students. But a lot of times, we're called upon to help regular classroom teachers kind of figure out ways to weave the Common Core into teaching creatively. So I thought this book had some really, really great ideas for that. It's not a long book. It's short, and it was a pleasant read. Sometimes reading professional books, they can be a little dry, but this one didn't feel that way at all. The first chapter is called Intentional Creativity, and the author begins by acknowledging the frustrations of trying to teach creativity in the regular classroom. The frustration of, I have to, get these test scores. I have to teach the standards. How can I weave creativity into that? And she talks about how, you still can teach creativity, but also teach it, within the constructs of the standards. And as I went through the book, I saw so many great examples of that I'm going to share also as we move a little bit further in the book. One of my big takeaways was in chapter 1, and I want to read this paragraph because I think it was one of the best in the book. Students need to know and understand what creativity is so that they target their responses appropriately. Creativity is not just about elaborate products, it's also a way of thinking. When students hear the teacher say, I want you to use creative thinking they should know that the teacher is looking for many ideas, different kinds of ideas, detailed ideas, or possibly a one-of-a-kind idea. Shared vocabulary and meaning are important if teachers want creativity to work. I don't think this is something that I really understood until I started teaching Target and explicitly teaching creativity as one of our standards. But when I was a classroom teacher, I think I was guilty of that a lot of times, of saying, be creative. And I think I hadn't really done a good job of teaching my students what that means, that I'm looking for fluency, flexibility, originality, and elaboration. So I really thought that was a great takeaway from the book, that you need to explicitly teach it before you can expect it. It sounds obvious, but I don't think when I was a new beginning teacher, I always did that. She talks a lot about, I'm not going to talk about this a lot because I know we need to get through the book, but she talks a lot about fixed and growth mindset also, and how important that is to being creative, because if students don't believe that they can become more creative and learn to be more creative, then it's not going to happen. So she had a lot about that in the first chapter too that I thought was really great. She talks about F2OE, which, as a target teacher, again, we do that a lot, but for classroom teachers, or if you haven't taught creativity a lot, if you're new to teaching gifted students, I think that could be a really great part of the book also. So one of my favorite things in the book is that at the end of all of the chapters, she has what she calls grab and go ideas, and they're just quick, creative thinking ideas. Most of them, all you would need is paper. And here's a great example of one. She calls it reverse brainstorming. It's grab and go idea number 3 in the practical creativity chapter. With reverse brainstorming, students approach a problem from the opposite side. Students generate many ideas about the reverse of what they want. They reflect upon their answers to generate a new way of thinking about the original problem. So for example, increase pollution instead of reducing pollution. Increase our consumption of water instead of thinking about how we can conserve water. This one I thought was funny. Promote drug use instead of thinking about reducing drug use. I will not be using that in my classroom. But this kind of reminded me of Dave Burge from Teach Like a Pirate. He talked about, having the taboo in your classroom and how that can be really powerful for student engagement. And so this reminded me immediately of him. He also talks about how, you need to know your audience and where to draw the line. So for me, I know my audience and I will not be doing that. But, if you had maybe a high school health class, I think that might be something that could be engaging for them. I will not be doing that one. But for my purposes, like for example, for increased pollution instead of reducing pollution, if I was asking students to create an invention to reduce pollution and they were kind of going along that line of thinking and then they were getting frustrated because they couldn't think of anything or couldn't think of a solution, I think having them brainstorm the reverse might be really powerful to help spark some new ideas, kind of take a break from where they're getting frustrated, and just sort of have maybe some playfulness in there also. One of the other things I really, really love about this book is she has some awesome charts that have some great ideas for standards-based activities that also promote creativity. So I love this one. She has the Common Core key ideas and details right here, and then the target for fluency, flexibility, originality, and elaboration. So for example, her Common Core key idea was ask and answer questions to demonstrate understanding of a text, referring explicitly to the text as the basis for the answer. That's a 3rd grade standard. So if the text was Sarah plain and tall, for flexibility, small group of students discuss and list how the story would be different if Sarah were a mean mother. They provide references to the text where changes would occur in the storyline and how these would affect the overall story. So just to, and you know, the chart, it's just filled with them. And the whole book is filled with great charts like this that have awesome examples of incorporating creativity with the Common Core standards. Another thing that I loved in this book was the rubrics and the chapter on assessing creativity. Because to me, I find that to be one of the most difficult parts about teaching creativity is how do you assess it? And then making up rubrics can be very time consuming, but she includes some rubrics in here that you could just print and use tomorrow. This rubric is mini rubric strips for assessing creative thinking and processes. And it has the creative thinking skill or process, has fluency, flexibility, originality, elaboration, innovation, and creative problem solving. And then it has all the criteria right there. She has a lot of different rubrics in here. Some are for student self-assessments, some are targeting specific creative thinking skills, some are targeting innovation and imagination. So the book is just filled with really practical stuff that you could use in the regular classroom or in the gifted classroom. Another one of my great takeaways from the book that I want to read is the very end, where she talks about just some final tips for creativity. Think of yourself as a creative person. Eventually you will believe it. Do not let the blocks get in your way. They can be overcome. Creativity is contagious. Surround yourself with creative people. And most important, experience the joy of creativity every day. I was thinking that would be nice to post in my classroom maybe. So again, the book is Sparking Student Creativity by Patti Drapeau. It's an awesome book. I would give it 5 stars. I would say it's especially useful for teaching creativity in the general classroom, but it would be great for any teacher that wants to work on promoting student creativity. So thanks for listening, and stay tuned because I'll be doing some more book reviews later in the year.